When recorded in stone, a life comes down to three things: a date of birth on the left, a date of death on the right, and a single shallow dash in between. That dash holds every day, hour, and minute you will ever experience. The finite scale of that window should command immediate urgency. Yet we routinely spend the most valuable hours of our day paralyzed by trivialities, waiting for likes on a photo, trading gossip about classmates, or mindlessly swiping through strangers' content. There is a severe cognitive dissonance in knowing your final exams are only a few weeks away, yet consciously deciding to hit the snooze button so you can squeeze in one more episode of a web series. Time is the single non-renewable asset to your name. Every second spent seeking the cheap currency of digital distraction is a second permanently drained from your life's total balance. The cost of this lost time doesn't stop at your bedroom door. There are silent stakeholders in your education, your parents. While you rationalize sleeping in and negotiating with your alarm clock, they are actively calculating the mounting expenses of your tuition. The comfort you enjoy right now is directly funded by their physical labor and quiet financial anxiety. Every comfortable excuse you generate to avoid opening a textbook acts as an active daily rejection of the sacrifices made to put those books in front of you. Neglecting your studies constitutes a direct refusal to honor the generational effort designed specifically to elevate your social and financial standing. The usual response to this realization is panic. We wait until the exam is a month away, draw up an impossible schedule, and seek out shortcuts. This method inevitably collapses within 3 days. This diagram illustrates the geometry of human discipline. It shows two diverging timelines extending from your current position. The bottom path is the erratic flat line of temporary, panic-driven motivation. The top path requires constructing a permanent psychological architecture, the future self, a precise, successful version of who you will be in 5 years. When you zoom in on that upward trajectory, you see it is constructed entirely of hundreds of microscopic interlocking choices: waking up on time, finishing a chapter, maintaining focus. Every single daily action must stack precisely to reach that peak. This architecture creates a real-time behavioral filter. When an unexpected text arrives or a friend calls to hang out, it flashes red against the blueprint. If the action doesn't serve the structural integrity of your 5-year plan, you deflect it immediately. Relying on a sudden burst of motivation is an emotional gamble. Designing a clear, unshakable vision of your future self provides a permanent operating system for making decisions. Implementing this system introduces intense physical and mental friction. It requires waking up at 5 a.m. when the room is freezing, or staying hunched over a desk for hours through intense heat. The scientist and former Indian president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, recognized this exact friction as a mandatory condition for growth. He observed that learning and pain are deeply intertwined. The immense discomfort of solitary study is exactly what makes achieving an impossible goal possible. The pain of discipline should not be viewed as a punishment to avoid. It is the essential raw material you must process to construct the superior version of yourself. The objective of this architectural process goes far beyond securing a high grade on a piece of paper. You are studying to acquire fundamental life rights. These include the right to dictate your own financial freedom, the right to fund a comfortable retirement for your parents, and the right to permanently silence those who insisted you would fail. These rights carry immense, lifelong value, yet students routinely trade them away for the cheap, fleeting currency of pure approval. Academic discipline represents the aggressive, necessary reclamation of your fundamental right to a superior life. The payoff for this sustained effort arrives in a quiet moment. The second you realize your future self is no longer a blueprint, and the acceptance letter for your dream job is finally resting in your hand. Your intellectual labor ceases to be a private struggle. By achieving your goal, you produce tangible work that contributes to the progress of your field and serves as a visible model of excellence for those coming after you. Excellence proved to yourself first eventually becomes an inspiration to others. By building your own future, you provide the visible evidence that a different life is possible for anyone else willing to design it. The dash between your birth and your death is being etched into the stone at this exact second. Stop passively consuming your future and start designing it. Every tombstone shares the exact same data points: the date you arrived and the date you depart. The substance of a human life exists in the tiny horizontal dash between those two dates. That line represents the sum total of every choice you make while your clock is running. It is a finite, measurable container of your time. Look at your own timeline. What specific, measurable actions are you taking today to put any actual weight inside that space? For most students, the daily reality is uncomfortably hollow. Hours evaporate while waiting for a phone to hit a full charge, stressing over social media metrics, or hitting the snooze button for the third time. Wasting the hours before the weekend is a conscious choice to minimize your future potential before you have the chance to realize it. This visual compresses a 365-day academic year down to a single 24-hour window. You start the semester convinced the deadline is a lifetime away. But that budget quietly compresses to months, then a week, until panic sets in the night before the exam. An audit of those lost months rarely reveals grand adventures. Usually it's just a graveyard of trivialities, tracking petty gossip, scrolling through identical digital feeds, or waiting for the perfect mood to start working. This is a neurological trait. You are choosing to sacrifice your long-term academic potential for immediate hits of digital dopamine that yield absolutely nothing of value. The inevitable result is the 2 a.m. cram session. You are exhausted and flooded with regret, frantically trying to force a year's worth of complex concepts into a tired brain in a matter of hours. Procrastination is a brutal transaction. You surrender the most capable years of your youth for temporary comfort today, ensuring a much harder reality tomorrow. That delayed pain isn't isolated to you. Your comfortable bubble of leisure is entirely subsidized by the working people, quietly absorbing the financial friction of your life. Imagine a student casually skipping a study session, while miles away, their father is sweating on a factory floor, hauling heavy burlap sacks and pushing through joint pain to keep tuition paid. The contrast is stark. The student complains about slow Wi-Fi or a boring lecture, while the parent literally trades the health of their own body to afford that student's opportunity. Your free time has a hidden cost. Every hour you spend avoiding your work is paid for by someone else's physical exhaustion. Recognizing this cost provides the raw emotional leverage required to finally break the procrastination loop. It is about duty and not just about desire. Guilt might get you to open a book for one night, but emotional spikes burn out. To repair your academic trajectory, you have to replace fleeting motivation with cold, systematic discipline. Think of it as a strategic exile. In Indian tradition, Lord Rama accepted a 14-year exile, stripping away all comforts to fulfill his duty. You need to implement a micro version of that austerity. This means a deliberate withdrawal from comfort. You cut down excess sleep. You eliminate lethargy-inducing junk food. You sever access to social media and decline focus-stealing social events. The daily execution is quiet. It looks like waking up long before the sun, sitting in a silent room with a single lamp, and executing a rigid study plan while the rest of the world is still asleep. You are choosing the temporary, controlled pain of study today. If you don't, you default to the permanent, uncontrollable pain of a failed future. We often rationalize failure by pretending top students possess a genetic advantage, that they were simply born with optimized brains. While every student in this room has access to the same syllabus, the performance gap we see at the end of the year is actually the sum total of thousands of small, daily choices. A top performer has simply traded more of their comfort for focused study hours than the student at the bottom of the list. That difference in focus dictates your physical reality after graduation. It is the divide between fighting for space on a sweltering public bus and the quiet comfort of an air-conditioned car. Academic rigor is the most reliable mechanism you have to climb out of financial struggle and permanently elevate your family's circumstances. Project yourself 5 years down your timeline. Look closely at the person your current daily habits are building. Will that older version of you look back on today with pride, or will they be crushed by the weight of missed opportunities? Real achievement requires you to endure discomfort. As Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam observed, accepting the pain of learning is the essential prerequisite for achieving anything of value. Reject the trivial distractions, claim your right to an education, and honor the sacrifices that were made just to put a pen in your hand. This work serves a purpose beyond a high test score. You are using these years to build the foundation for the rest of your life. Make sure the work you do today earns the respect of the person you intend to become. When you were born, a date is recorded on the left. When you die, a date is recorded on the right. Between those two numbers sits a small dash. That dash represents every second of your existence, and it is a rapidly depleting resource. Students often live under a strange psychological illusion at the start of a semester. Looking at a calendar filled with months of unscheduled time creates a false sense of abundance, making the future feel like an infinite territory where work can always start tomorrow. This spiral maps procrastination. It starts as a wide circle, but as days pass, the loop contracts. Time shrinks, forcing a faster cycle of panic. The window narrows until months of potential compress into a single frantic night, where the possibility of excellence vanishes. Most remain trapped here because they mistake the sudden dopamine rush of feeling motivated for the difficult, sustained action of discipline. One is a fleeting emotion, the other is a repeatable process. We frequently trade our future for digital validation and minor social dramas. Hours vanish into checking likes or monitoring what someone else is doing online, prioritizing trivial gossip over long-term stability. We allow progress to stall over the smallest physical discomforts. A room that feels too warm or a low phone battery becomes a reason to quit, treating minor inconveniences as valid excuses. This creates a vacuum state where we endlessly consume motivational videos and self-help content. We absorb the feeling of being productive without ever actually opening a textbook or applying the advice we just heard. Choosing these distractions over your work ultimately constitutes a willful blindness toward the real-world consequences of academic failure. To find focus, you must look past the walls of your bedroom and confront the broader reality of the world outside. While you debate whether you're in the mood to study, others are enduring an extreme physical toll. They stand for hours in dangerous conditions, surrounded by heat and heavy machinery, to sustain their families. Every hour you spend at a desk is paid for by someone else's sweat. Parents trade their health and their safety in industrial settings just to buy you the quiet time required to learn. Realizing that your comfort is subsidized by another person's suffering should provide a psychological shock. It is the moment the cost of your procrastination becomes visible. Relying on temporary motivation is an insult to this effort. Discipline becomes sustainable only after you acknowledge the physical cost paid for your education. In the final stretch before an exam, you must adopt a framework of exile. Think of it as a strategic withdrawal from the comforts of normal life to achieve a higher purpose. This temporary exile requires an absolute rejection of digital dopamine, of junk food, and the luxury of excessive sleep. You are stripping away everything that does not contribute to your academic objective. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam argued that intellectual growth requires you to lean into discomfort. Learning is a process of friction, and true achievement is impossible without the willingness to endure mental and physical strain. Developing cognitive stamina means sitting with a difficult problem for hours while completely ignoring your brain's craving for a distraction. You are training yourself to value the result more than the immediate ease. Entering this period of deprivation transforms the weight of parental sacrifice into a source of academic power. You are no longer studying out of guilt. You are studying out of necessity. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is the engine that pulls you out of bed at 5 a.m. in the freezing cold. It functions independently of how you feel or the weather outside. This process marks the end of the average persona who relies on excuses. It is the birth of a relentless student archetype who treats their schedule with the same seriousness as a professional athlete. A rigorous education serves as the single most effective tool for social and economic transformation. It changes the trajectory of an entire family line. The moment you stop accepting your own excuses is the moment you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start commanding your future. Envision your future self, a successful, vastly superior version of who you are today. That person exists as a direct result of the choices you make this week. Years from now, that version of you will look back at this period of intense work as the critical juncture that permanently altered your path. Academic excellence is not about personal vanity. It provides the capacity to lead and authority to inspire the next generation to follow your footsteps. Do not study merely to obtain employment. Use your knowledge to become the architect of an excellence that will leave a legacy for the world.